Lemon Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy your show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon Amiga Play Guide and Review. This time we'll be checking out Rash, developed by Playguide Software and published by Electronic Arts in 1992. In this game we face several characters, and you can see a number of those on the title screen, and we play as Biff. And Biff is of course the hardest nut of them all. And we also get to enjoy some fabulous music on the title sequence as well. Pressing that fire button, we face the long load on the disc version, but this is the WHD load, so it doesn't take too long, and I'll obviously be chopping out all the rest of the loading in this review. And finally we get to the high score table and then the track options menu, where we can select a number of tracks. I think it's 6 tracks in this game. So let's select the first one and let's see how we go on. Rash is a motorcycle racing game where we can drive our motorcycles down the road at high speed, and we can also punch as well, and that helps us get rid of all those opponents. And that's the aim of the game, that's the trick of the game, to punch those or kick those out of the way. And on the Amiga, when you press the fire button and move left and right, I think he does a kick, and if you press the fire button on its own, I think he does a punch. And so that means both of the mechanics are in the single fire button joystick. At the end of each race, we will get a finish line, and then we will get a number of statistics, which we will see a little bit later on are quite important in this game. So let's move on. We can see the first position. We won the previous race, so it keeps our position on this title picture. And now let's move on to the next one and hope that we avoid the cops along the way. On this course we get to see clouds moving across the sky and some fading effects as well, and you'll see a bit later on that these races are actually held at different times of the day. So if it's sunny, it could be cloudy the next time you play it. And that's an interesting feature, as are the background graphics as well, and you can see that there is texture around on the surface of the ground, and that's a lot better than the plain solid lines that we find in quite a lot of racing games on the Amiga. That's another race completed, and we only managed to get 4th place in that race, which gives us $200 in this case, and $200 is significantly nothing, so we're going to have to win a few races and try a little bit harder. Rash was developed in America by Playguide Software and published by Electronic Arts, so it was an NTSC game, and they simply put that in a box and shipped that to Europe, so what we got to play was the NTSC version running in PAL mode. That means, unfortunately, that the NTSC version, which is supposed to run at 60 frames per second, just like the Sega Mega Drive version, well, that only ran at 50 frames per second on a PAL Amiga, and in a smaller window as well. So quite a lot of the reviews said that this is a quite slow game and it doesn't run very smoothly. We've acquired a baseball bat, and I think you can get a flail as well, and a number of weapons in the game, but for my money the baseball bat is quite powerful, and you can see in the rear view mirrors our competitors are right behind us, so if we make any mistakes whatsoever they can return and they can overtake us, so we have to avoid as much as possible all the traffic and all the other cars, and of course all the palm trees and the barriers on the side of that road, otherwise we'll fall off and we'll have to catch up to everybody all over again. That means we've finished 5th on that particular run, and that gives us $180. And we're going to have to improve our performance, otherwise we're going to find ourselves out, because if we get stopped by the law we'll get fined, and if we don't qualify, well, I think it costs money to even qualify, I'm not quite sure. But you can see I've slowed down this footage to show you the people by the side of the road, and they didn't have to draw all these people waving and singing and dancing by the side of the road. And I've played quite a lot of the 3D or PlayStation version of this game, where pedestrians and people were a major part of it, and I can't help feeling that in this game the people by the side of the road were the template for that. And I really do love the people walking around the road in that particular version. On the Amiga you only get a sniff of that, and unfortunately that's at the beginning and at the end of every race. Let's move on to another track where we find some scenery changes, so the music changes as well on every single track, the clouds change, the background changes, and also we get cows which on later levels will wander into the middle of that road and block our progress. I really like the cubes on the scenery, and those cooling towers always reminded me of a can of Coca-Cola, and the nods to different things in this game. Well, there isn't too many houses, but they are there, and there are some telegraph poles, and so this game does run at some kind of frame rate. It was coded by Peter J. Hickinson, and if that name rings a bell, it's because we've already covered the game Moonshine Racers, which he coded in 1991, and as far as I know it uses the Moonshine Racers engine. He also created Continental Circus in 1989. You can see by slowing down that footage, sometimes we can fall off the bike quickly on a fast corner, and I think I actually went over some mud, but you have to watch out also for the traffic, because you don't get time to run out of the way of that, even if you can see it on your rear view mirrors. So you can see that puts us all the way down to 11th, and you have to watch out for everything on the side of the road, otherwise you might find yourself with a long walk back. Luckily the bike does appear in the rear view mirrors, so you can find it, and the rear view mirrors do have an effect in this game. There aren't too many rear view mirrors on the Amiga, but this game certainly has them. That was an 8th position and not a very high fortune, unfortunately. So we have to gain 4th or higher to qualify, and we'll have to qualify on all these tracks to move on to the next section. You can see it says Player A Level 1, that means that we're on the first set of tracks, and on the first set it's pretty short. You can see it even tells us 5.7 miles, which is pretty short in this game, and they will get longer as the game goes on. See, Officer Leary and Officer O'Rourke will be patrolling the area, and if we get under their feet they will hamper us. The trick is not to punch them out, because if you do they will follow us and ram us off the road, and we don't want to be arrested in this game, because that means it's track over and we'll have to play it all over again. And as you've seen, we have played in this review all of the tracks already, and we're having to move through them all again just so that we can qualify in 4th place or higher. Let's speed up that footage just a little bit, and you may see that these frame rates are now nice and smooth now that we're playing this in NTSC mode on an NTSC computer. And NTSC means it's full screen, and we get to play all of the music at the right speed as well. So this is as fast as it can go because it's hard coded to the processor, and an 030 won't really make any difference whatsoever. And so you can see that we can do some amazing stunts and some high jumps in the game. Now completed another race, and you can see that after every one it gives us a password. There are no saves in the game, but we can simply enter the password to continue. Once we qualify 4th place or higher, we get to move on to the next level, and as you can imagine, the next level is a little bit tougher, and it's a little bit longer as well, and it says player A level 2, and that also clears away all the progress that we made on level 1. So you can see level 2 is longer, 7.7 miles, 7.9 miles, 7.8, and with the lowly bike that we've got at the moment, well, this bike is pretty slow, it is pretty difficult to manoeuvre, it doesn't have much sticking power to the road, and it's pretty much a dog in the game. So players who played this game with this bike would be forgiven for thinking that this bike is a bit of hard work, and it would be better if we didn't have this bike in the game, because it makes the game harder work simply trying to use it and trying to speed up again just to try and catch those competitors. I think it's great that it shows us a nice picture at the end of every scene. You can see a nice scene of us taking a dip in the water. So you can see we managed to get 6th on the previous track. And from the track selection screen, we can do a number of things, including toggle 1-player and 2-player mode, and player A, player B. I'm not quite sure if that's a hot seat mode or whether that's just a different player competitor and a different character. And you can see press F1 for player selection, so we can change players, it looks like, in the game. And control method 1 and control method 2, one of those is the fire button to accelerate, the other one is forward to accelerate, and we can press fire to start the race. We can also enter the password, and so let's enter the password that it gave us on the previous screen, and that should return us back to the game. And you can see that the password system does memorize all of our money and our bike as well, and the progress that we've made in the game. So that's password valid. We're now returning to level 2, and it looks like we've completed, well, we've raced another track in 5th position. So let's move on to another race, and let's hope that we can acquire a little bit more money, because money is very valuable, as we should see. Taking a look at that instrument panel, we have our player stats, and the green bar is our health, and our opponent stats and our opponent health as well. And you can see that it gives us a readout of the distance that we've gone already, and that will tick up as we move along, so it does pay to take notice of how long each race is, because our tachometer will tick up. And so you can see we completed that in 7th position, and 7th gives us $5,020 in total. But not only does this screen have information on it, if we leave it alone, it says you must complete every course in 4th place or better before you can move on to the next level. We can also press fire to go to that next track, and that's something that most players do at this point. We can also press F1 to check out our high scores, and I don't really think that we need to check out our high scores at this point. And We can also press F2 to check out the race results, the cache and the password screen, which we've just seen already at the end of the race, so we don't need to see that. And what's this? Press F3 to check out the new bikes. Well, let's press F3 and let's check out those new bikes. We've got this one, it's a Shuriken, and in this game it will combine the price of our current bike and the total of cash that we've acquired. So we've got 7 grand in the bank, which means we can afford 2 different bikes. And let's check out the more expensive bikes as well. You can see we're moving up in horsepower at 135, and the Ducati in this case is 110 horsepower and Diablo 150. So at the moment we've got 60 horsepower. That's not really going to do us any favours. So let's check out this Banzai at 100 HP. And by pressing that fire button, we move on to the next level, where we notice that the bike is still the same colour, and our helmet is still the same colour, and the speed of the bike and the frame rate is still the same as well. What actually happened was I messed up on the options screen, and let's return to the screen in between each race, and let's this time select our new bike and let's spend that $7,000, and this time let's press F3 to select our new bike. No, you can't just press the fire button or move the stick up or down. You have to press F3 and then it says the bike is yours. Great, we've now got a new bike. First glance, the new bike doesn't seem to give us more speed, but it actually does. Instead of 120 miles per hour, it now moves us up to 140, and the grip of this bike is a lot better as well. The turning, the handling is a lot better, and the balance of the bike, the acceleration and the speed. And the top speed, well, you won't really make it because these corners are quite twisty and turny. But one tip that I will give is don't even bother trying to brake in the game. Simply hold down that fire button or push forward and lean the bike into all the corners. And that means that we can cruise our way, hopefully, to that first position. But this is the medium level, this is level 2 that we're playing, so because the races are harder and they are longer, it also means that they are also harder and longer, so it takes more concentration sometimes. And now that we have a faster bike, we're in position 1, you can see the cops and the other racers are just behind, so it's all the more vital at this point not to crash. You can see we're now in position 3 and we can jump over those crash bikes because yes, they do crash out occasionally. And we are now behind number 1, and it's great that it gives us a readout on the dashboard. In this case it says we are second, and looking forward we can see the first position rider in front of us. You can see some more nice clouds and some more nice scenery, some different trees and some nice landscape changes as we ride full speed down this road. But the medium level is different than the first level because we have a faster bike, and I think there are 5 levels in the game. This is only level 2, but you can see at this speed our main competitor has exactly the same bike as us, and that means we're going to have to change our driving style. We're going to have to take it very easily around all the corners and glide around those, taking the inside line and anticipating the corners ahead so that we can cut out as much of the road as possible, catch up to the other guy. He had to slow down for traffic in this case, but this gives us a different driving style, which we are definitely going to need on the later races. And with this better bike and with the better grip, it gives us some practice that we're going to need for the faster races a little bit later on. So you can see we are now in first position. Can we keep it together? Yes, we managed to keep it together to the line. And in this game, it's not long before we take on first position and qualify ourselves towards a new bike. You can see we've got 13 grand in the bank, so that affords us, well, not the Ducati or the Ferrari or whatever it's supposed to say, but the Shuriken in this case gives us a nice 135 horsepower, and it's not as light as the other bike. And so now we're qualified for level 3. Now we move on to that third level. The races become even longer, and the level 3 race, as you can see, 10 miles. So that's quite significantly longer than we drove at the start of the game. And let's see if this bike is any quicker. This is what I like to call the medium bike in the game. It has 135 horsepower, and I think the fastest bike has 150. And so with the medium bike, you can see that the frame rate has improved because our acceleration has improved and our top speed as well. And the grip and the handling have carried over from the previous bike, which gives us a little more confidence. We can see with this faster frame rate, it's a little more of a handful. Many magazine reviewers complained that this game wasn't fast, it wasn't smooth, it was a little bit jerky, it was in a small screen, and it wasn't a great, very fast game comparing it to Lotus and things like that. But as you can see with the faster bike, it is full screen, it is faster, and it is grippy, and it is a really good driving experience. So perhaps the magazine reviewers didn't play this on NTSC hardware. Of course, they didn't have a clue about PAL versus NTSC in those days. This bike being the medium bike, if we compare that to the Mega Drive version, you will be surprised to learn that the frame rates of this medium bike are just as quick as the fastest bike on the Sega Mega Drive version, frame for frame. So that means that the faster bike on the Amiga could run, in theory, faster than the Sega Mega Drive version. I've never reached that far in the game. I've been playing a lot of the PlayStation 1 version, the remix of this game, and I've heavily invested time in that. I've never really played the Amiga version before, and until this review I didn't even know that you could change bikes. But here we are on level 3, and suddenly the game becomes more playable and slightly more addictive as well, because you want to face a challenge. And with this bike, it's not much of a challenge except for staying on that road. I'd give Road Rash on the Amiga, played on NTSC, maybe 7 out of 10. It has the speed and it has the playability. I just wish that the road was a little bit wider, and also the menu screens were a little bit more logical with simple labels next to the F keys that we're supposed to press. And so, convoluted things aside, I think that this game has in fact a lot going for it, and much more than I give it credit for back in the day. Moving on to those magazine scores, and Amiga magazine gave this 50%, that was for the re-release, and Amiga Joker gave this 64%, And the Amiga had mixed opinions. It gave it originally 81, then it put it down to 64, and then back up to 70% again for the re-release. The one gave this 65% for the re-release. Amiga Power awarded this 70%, and Amiga Computing gave this 73%, and Acorn awarded the game 73% as well. The current Lemon Amiga score is 75%. The highest scores went to The One, who gave this 78%, Amiga Action gave it 80%, and the highest score went to Amiga Format, who were willing to forgive everything and gave this 84%. That gives this round out 7 out of 10 as an average score. And you can see it's fast and it's furious on the top levels, and so I have developed a huge respect for this game that I never had back in the day, and I really did enjoy this playthrough. So that's my password in case you want to continue with the fast bikes and experience this, a very fast racer, continue from where I left off. So thank you once again for viewing another Lemon review. See you soon. But you're looking at more like Sims though if you're looking at a PC game, whereas on an Amiga this isn't Formula 1 Grand Prix or Indy 500, you know, so you don't quite get that sim element, which I don't miss, to be honest. So yeah, congratulations! Stage clear!